I was 14 years old when my father decided that I still needed someone to keep an eye on me while he was working late shifts. "It's just because I'm not going to leave you all alone for 6 hours," he explained. "Our street is too quiet, and I can't leave you all alone in this house for so many hours." In reality, we lived in an absolutely ordinary 3-story house, and I had already been taking the bus by myself for 2 years, and my father worked closing shifts at a print warehouse across town. However, the house seemed to become eerily quiet after dark. The babysitter he hired was named Amelia. She was 21 or 22, and according to my father, she seems to be nice and very responsible. My mother had asked several neighbors to recommend someone who would take care of me, and each time their answer was the same. She is very reliable, always punctual, very polite, and a bit shy with teenagers, like me. Amelia appeared polite enough to my father. During her visits, she smiled widely with her teeth exposed and talked with enthusiasm and interest about the weather, the food my father bought, and about her day. However, after my father left, the atmosphere in the house would always change drastically. The door to our house remained closed. Once we were alone, her behavior became extremely cold towards me, and she hardly ever exchanged more than a couple of words during those evenings. The last evening Amelia spent at our house started without any particular events. Father had left us with the instructions on a sticky note attached to the fridge. She arrived in her gray sweatshirt with damp hair, like she had just come from a quick shower. After apologizing for being late, she smiled when my father mentioned that he was coming home around midnight. "And make sure she'll eat some dinner?" he added to her instructions. "Of course," was her smiling response. After my father had driven away, she approached the window to watch until his taillights disappeared in the distance. Then she closed the curtains firmly. I was sitting at the kitchen table, doing my homework while watching TV quietly. Amelia approached me slowly and asked, "Do you ever use the basement?" I shook my head in response. "Not really." "And does your father use it?" "Only for laundry." Her reaction surprised me. She nodded like that answered some mysterious question for her. 7:30 was approaching, and she instructed me to remain in the living room. After that, she left for the stairs leading to the basement. Basement door didn't latch properly, so it sometimes opened on its own. I could hear her voice from beneath the floor through the small opening, muffled yet clearly audible. "No, not the front." I switched off the TV sound and tried to understand better, although I couldn't quite distinguish her words from the noise of the refrigerator turning on and the oven giving out that usual dull sound. A minute later, she returned to the ground floor and washed her hands, although there wasn't anything she had cooked. She opened the oven and looked inside for a second, then closed it immediately afterwards. "Food will be ready only much later, I guess," she said. It was already ready. The smell of burned lasagna reached me from the kitchen. After about 20 minutes, I noticed a strange knocking noise on the back wall. Someone was knocking lightly at the back door to the laundry room. It was situated on the back side of our house in the narrow yard between two fences. The sound came again. Amelia instantly reacted to it. "Go to your room," she ordered sharply. "Why? What's happening?" I asked, confused. "Just do it because I've said." Her answer was brief and strict. There was no need to protest further, and I hurriedly went upstairs to my bedroom. While I was closing the door, she followed me to make sure I did it. My room had 2 windows, and the one located between the shelves in my wardrobe opened to the backyard. That's where I saw how she unlocked the laundry room door, and a man, with his back to me, was standing in our side garden. His cap was pulled down to the eyebrows, and I couldn't see his face. He looked carefully at the neighboring yard and then handed her something inside a grocery bag he held in his hand. She accepted his offering. Whatever was inside that grocery bag didn't seem heavy or bulky, just a piece of rectangular hard shape wrapped in plastic. He seemed dissatisfied with her acceptance, as his expression suggested. But then she raised her head and started looking upwards, at me. I instantly crouched down next to the windowsill, listening as my heart was beating loudly in my ears. A few moments later, the door of the laundry room closed. She entered my bedroom a few seconds after. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. "Doing my homework." She didn't say anything for a moment. Then, in a tone of voice meant for an adult, she ordered me to stay upstairs. I agreed. After that, I heard her running down the stairs and then opening some cabinets. Once, I heard the metallic noise as someone lifted the vent cover of our hall vent. I opened my door slightly. Through the opening, I saw her bent near the floor below. She was pulling the cover of the hallway vent off with her bare hands, and her grocery bag laid on the floor nearby. She looked up and saw me looking down at her. For a moment, nobody said anything. Then she quickly returned the cover of the vent in place and stood up, saying, "Your dad asked me to check something." She knew perfectly that she was lying, and she knew I did too. We both just remained silent in this position. 10 o'clock came, and I was told to go to bed with instructions to brush my teeth. I got undressed under the covers without turning off my light and listened to her. At 10:37, the sound of opening our back door was heard. Exactly at 10:39, it closed again. At 10:46, I heard her car start on the curb. I stayed in bed for another quarter of an hour and then descended to the ground floor. The kitchen lights were off. The lasagna was dried out and burned in the oven. The laundry room vent was closed. As soon as I lifted the vent cover, I found nothing but dust and an old rubber band. My father arrived a few minutes past midnight and found me in the kitchen. I started to tell him what happened. Everything began with the basement call and ended with her quick departure from the house. He believed me and called her number. The phone rang several times, but nobody ever answered it. The next day, the neighbor came to our house. Amelia told her that she was frightened and embarrassed. She admitted having gotten ill suddenly and panicking at the sight of this. "I just wanted to wait until the girl was asleep," she said. However, my father didn't hire her again. No evidence was ever discovered in the house, and no one could explain the appearance of that mysterious man. Amelia refused further jobs on our street, and a month later, she moved to another city. Until recently, I thought the fact that no one explained me what did she try to hide irritated me the most. Actually, I was wrong. It was something else. It's that when I saw her kneeling by the vent, she looked less afraid of getting caught than of leaving it there.
Like, share, subscribe.